Have you ever been told you're too much, too sensitive, too emotional, too dramatic? If you're watching this video, chances are you've heard those words more times than you can count. Maybe you heard them from your parents when you cried during a movie, maybe from friends when you got upset about something they considered small, or maybe from a romantic partner who made you feel like your emotions were a burden. I want you to know something right now. You were never too sensitive. Your inner child was just unheard. My name is Sarah, and I spent the first 25 years of my life apologizing for feeling too much. I was the kid who cried when Bambi's mother died. Not just a few tears, but sobbing so hard my parents had to take me out of the theater. I was the teenager who couldn't watch the news because the suffering of strangers felt like it was happening to me. I was the young adult who would lie awake at night, replaying conversations, wondering if I'd been too intense again. Sound familiar? Drop a comment below if you've ever felt like you were carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. Let me paint you a picture that might feel painfully familiar. Picture yourself as a 7-year-old at a family gathering. Your uncle is telling a story about his hunting trip, describing in detail how he killed a deer. While everyone else is laughing and engaged, you're sitting there feeling sick to your stomach, tears welling up in your eyes. You excuse yourself to go to the bathroom, but your mom follows you. Instead of comfort, you get, "What's wrong with you? It's just a story. You need to toughen up." You learn in that moment that your feelings are wrong, that caring deeply is something to be ashamed of. Or maybe you're 10 years old and your best friend didn't invite you to their birthday party. You're devastated, not just disappointed, but absolutely heartbroken. When you try to express this to your parents, they say, "Stop being so dramatic. There will be other parties." They don't understand that for you, it wasn't about the party. It was about feeling rejected, about wondering if you were worthy of love and friendship. Can you think of a moment like this from your own childhood? A time when your big feelings were dismissed instead of validated? I want you to pause this video for a moment and really think about it. What was your moment? Here's what I wish someone had told me back then. My brain was literally wired differently. And if you're watching this, yours probably is too. Research shows that highly sensitive people, about 15 to 20% of the population, have nervous systems that process sensory information more deeply. Our brains have more activity in areas associated with empathy, awareness, and deeper processing. We're not broken or too much. We're literally built to feel and notice more. I remember being in high school biology class when we dissected frogs. While my classmates were joking around, I was fighting back tears, thinking about how this frog once had a life, maybe a family. My teacher rolled her eyes and said, "Sarah, it's just a frog. Get over it." But I couldn't get over it because my brain doesn't work that way. I was experiencing what scientists now call depth of processing. My mind was automatically considering the ethical implications, the life that was lost, the bigger picture. Have you ever been in a situation where everyone else seemed fine, but you were overwhelmed by details others missed? Maybe you were the only one who noticed someone was sad in a group photo, or you couldn't enjoy a movie because you kept thinking about the stunt doubles getting hurt. That's not weakness. That's a superpower that was misunderstood. So what did I do with all this sensitivity? The same thing most of us do. I learned to hide it. I became an expert at reading rooms, at making myself smaller, at swallowing my emotions until they felt like stones in my chest. I remember being 16 and deliberately choosing not to cry during The Notebook when I watched it with friends, even though I wanted to sob. I sat there, jaw clenched, forcing myself to appear unaffected. I was so proud of myself for controlling my emotions. What I didn't realize was that I was slowly disconnecting from the very thing that made me, me. In college, I dated someone who would get frustrated with my big reactions. When I got excited about something, like seeing a beautiful sunset or hearing a song that moved me, he'd say, "Why do you have to be so intense about everything?" I started measuring my responses against his. I learned to say, "It's nice," instead of, "It's absolutely breathtaking." I learned to nod politely instead of jumping up and down with joy. The cost was enormous. I became anxious, constantly second-guessing myself. I developed what I now know was depression, because when you cut yourself off from feeling joy deeply, you also cut yourself off from feeling anything deeply. I felt like I was living life through a gray filter, watching everyone else experience emotions while I stayed safely numb. Does this resonate with you? Have you ever found yourself dimming your light to make others more comfortable? Comment below with just one word that describes how that felt for you. The inner child connection. Here's what I learned in therapy that changed everything. That 7-year-old who cried during the hunting story, she's still inside me. That 10-year-old who was heartbroken about the birthday party, she's still there too, and she's been trying to get my attention for years. Your inner child isn't just a psychological concept. It's the part of you that still carries all those unprocessed emotions, all those moments when you were told your feelings were wrong. Every time you feel too much as an adult, that's often your inner child trying to communicate something important. I had a breakthrough moment last year. I was watching a documentary about ocean pollution, and I started crying. Not just sad tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs. My first instinct was to stop, to tell myself I was being ridiculous. But then I imagined my 7-year-old self, and I realized she's not crying because she's broken. She's crying because she has a heart that's big enough to feel the pain of the world, and that's actually beautiful. That night, I did something I'd never done before. I wrote a letter to my inner child. I told her that her feelings were valid, that her sensitivity was a gift, that she didn't need to change to fit into a world that didn't understand her. I told her I was sorry for all the times I'd told her to be quiet, to be less, to hide. Have you ever thought about what your inner child might be trying to tell you? What would you say to your younger self if you could go back? The science of sensitivity. Let me share some facts that blew my mind when I first learned them. Dr. Elaine Aron, who coined the term highly sensitive person, found that sensitive individuals have increased activity in the insula, the brain region associated with consciousness and empathy, stronger activation in mirror neuron systems, making them more attuned to others' emotions, higher levels of depth of processing, meaning they naturally reflect more deeply on experiences, greater sensitivity to subtle stimuli in their environment. This isn't a disorder or a weakness, it's a genetic trait that exists in over 100 species. Sensitive individuals often serve as the canaries in the coal mine for their communities, alerting others to potential dangers or changes in the environment. Some of history's most influential people were highly sensitive: Einstein, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Maya Angelou. They didn't succeed despite their sensitivity. They succeeded because of it. Their deep processing and empathy allowed them to see solutions others missed, to feel injustices others ignored, to create art that moved souls. Think about the sensitive people in your life. Are they the ones you turn to when you need comfort? Are they the ones who notice when you're having a bad day before you even say anything? That's the power of sensitivity in action. The validation journey. The journey to embracing my sensitivity wasn't linear. There were setbacks, moments when I still caught myself apologizing for having feelings. But gradually, I started to reframe my experiences. Instead of seeing my tears during movies as embarrassing, I started seeing them as evidence of my capacity for empathy. Instead of viewing my need for alone time after social events as antisocial, I recognized it as necessary self-care for my highly attuned nervous system. I started surrounding myself with people who celebrated my sensitivity rather than trying to fix it. I found friends who would text me pictures of sunsets because they knew I'd appreciate the beauty. I found a partner who sees my emotional depth as one of my greatest strengths, not something to be managed. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but it did happen. And the first step was learning to validate my own experiences instead of waiting for others to understand them. What would change in your life if you stopped apologizing for your sensitivity? Really think about it. Would you pursue that creative project you've been putting off? Would you speak up about causes you care about? Would you let yourself feel joy without measuring it against others' reactions? Practical steps for healing. So how do you start honoring your inner child and embracing your sensitivity? Here are some practices that changed my life. First, create a daily check-in ritual. Every morning, I spend 5 minutes asking myself, what is my inner child feeling today? What does she need? Sometimes she needs extra gentleness. Sometimes she needs to be reminded that it's safe to feel excited about things. Sometimes she just needs to know she's not alone. Second, practice emotional validation. When you feel that familiar wave of emotion, instead of pushing it away, pause. Place your hand on your heart and say, this feeling is valid. I'm allowed to feel this deeply. My sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a feature. Third, seek out your tribe. Find people who appreciate emotional depth. Join communities of highly sensitive people. Surround yourself with art, music, and media that celebrates feeling deeply rather than mocking it. Fourth, educate others gently. When someone tells you you're too sensitive, you can say, I prefer to think of myself as deeply feeling. It's how I'm wired, and it allows me to connect with others and notice beauty in ways that enrich my life. Fifth, use your sensitivity as a superpower. Channel that deep feeling into creativity, activism, or helping others. Your ability to feel deeply is exactly what the world needs more of. Here's something beautiful I've discovered. When you embrace your sensitivity, you give others permission to do the same. I've had friends tell me that seeing me cry openly during movies made them feel safer to show their own emotions. I've had colleagues mention that my willingness to address the emotional undercurrents in our workplace helped them feel more authentic at work. Your sensitivity isn't just about you, it's about creating a world where emotional depth is celebrated, where children don't have to learn to hide their feelings, where too much becomes exactly enough. I think about that 7-year-old version of myself often now. Instead of being embarrassed by her tears, I'm proud of her compassion. Instead of wishing she was different, I'm grateful she felt so deeply. She's the reason I can write music that moves people, the reason I can sense when someone needs a friend, the reason I can appreciate the intricate beauty of a single flower. If you've made it this far in the video, you're already on the path to healing. You're already choosing to honor your sensitivity instead of hiding from it. That's not a small thing, that's revolutionary. Your inner child has been waiting for this moment, waiting for you to turn toward them with compassion instead of criticism. They've been hoping you'd stop trying to fix them and start celebrating them. I want you to try something right now. Close your eyes for just a moment. Picture your younger self. Maybe you're 5, maybe you're 10, maybe you're 15. Look at that child with all the love you have in your heart. See their sensitivity not as a flaw, but as a gift. See their big emotions not as problems to be solved, but as evidence of a heart that's brave enough to feel everything. What would you tell that child? What would you want them to know about their sensitivity? Share that message in the comments below. Let's create a space where our inner children feel seen and celebrated. Before you go, I want you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. We're building a community of deeply feeling people who are tired of apologizing for their sensitivity. Every week, I share tools, stories, and insights for highly sensitive individuals who want to thrive, not just survive. Second, save this video. On days when you're feeling too much, come back and watch it. Let it remind you that your sensitivity is not a burden. It's a superpower that the world desperately needs. Third, share this with someone who needs to hear it. We all know someone who's been told they're too sensitive. Maybe it's a friend, a family member, or even your own child. Send them this video. Let them know they're not alone. And finally, tell me in the comments, what's one thing you appreciate about your sensitivity that you've never acknowledged before? Maybe it's your ability to appreciate art, your skill at comforting others, or your capacity to notice beauty in small moments. Let's celebrate these gifts together. You are not too sensitive, you are just unheard. But today, you can choose to listen. Today, you can choose to honor the gift that you are. Your sensitivity isn't something to fix, it's something to celebrate. Thank you for being here. Thank you for feeling deeply. Thank you for being exactly who you are. Remember, in a world that often feels disconnected and harsh, your sensitivity is not a weakness. It's a beacon of hope. It's proof that deep feeling, genuine empathy, and authentic emotion still exist. Don't let anyone dim that light. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll explore more ways to honor your highly sensitive nature and create a life that celebrates rather than suppresses your emotional depth. Until then, be gentle with yourself. You're doing better than you think. Don't forget to subscribe and tell me where you are watching from.